Hello and welcome back to another episode of Live here on Keystroke Medium. I am Josh Hayes here with Scott Moon. Chuck Manley had a snow day today. Today's episode, we're talking to best-selling USA Today bestselling author M.A. Rothman. His series, his books Primordial Threat, Darwin Cipher, The Code Breaker, and he's got a lot of titles, multiple genres like fantasy and sci-fi and like ultra tech thriller. I'm interested to start this conversation. Welcome to the show.
Howdy. Thank you.
Everybody in the live chat, welcome. Let's see who had the first comment of today. Rick Partlow had the first comment of today, so he gets KSM Golf. We should just rename the KSM Golf Clap of Appreciation to the Rick Partlow / Corey Gillum.
Right. They're like in a death match for first place. I'm pretty sure.
just watching the notification going, I'm going first.
It's going to be like back in the day when you used to have to camp outside of a movie theater or Best Buy to get the Black Friday. They'll be like 2 days early.
And now they just come out and hand out tickets to everyone standing outside. Yeah. You don't have to fight anybody anymore, which I think is really just a...
What's the fun of that?
That doesn't show dedication.
Yeah, I want to see people fist fighting for the newest PlayStation. That's
if we don't. What are we going to put on YouTube if people don't?
Right, World Star. Let's see. Walt Robillard is in the chat. Hey, if he had a brand new Coffee and Concepts episode before the show this morning with Ben Stevens, who coincidentally is the show sponsor for this week's episode. His new book, Invasive Species, is live on Amazon right now. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and we'll talk about it a little later in the show. There you go. There's the link for Invasive Species, today's show sponsor. If you haven't liked already, do it right now, because I'm watching your fingers clicking the mouse button to like this video. If you're listening on the audio feed and you didn't know, we have a live show every Monday morning. 10 a.m.-ish most of the time. And if you haven't subscribed, do so. Hey, Charlie Dunn says hi. I wonder where he's on the...
I heard the bell right before you started. When you kick us off to start the show during the intro reel, my phone goes, beating. Like Josh is posting it. And I noticed in here, Steve Boyer is causing a lot of problems. I think that if I understand what he's saying in the live chat correctly, he watches WandaVision when you talk, Josh, but he listens... Michael and I.
That does not surprise me.
I could have it reversed.
That does not surprise me. Look at that. Josh. What's this? Steve. Oh, Lauren's in the chat. Hey, she says, my hat's pretty. Jealous. Be jealous. Okay, so let's see. We've talked about liking and subscribing. Let's do updates. Scott, you go first today.
Okay, so I had an exciting week of doing 3 hours plus of audio proofreading on Departure Day, trying to get it done for Podium by today. So I just have about 20 more pages left. Nice. And it's one of the things I've done. I've added a couple of extra layers of proofreading. I always proofread extensively, obviously, but I've added a few more final ones just because I want to, and I think it makes a little better quality in the final, that last tiny detail you catch. So I did that. I've been working on Orphan Wars. I've been going to work and wearing lots of layers of clothing.
Stupid cold outside, man.
Things are not too bad. A little bit crazy here. Definitely the snowpocalypse.
I wore 2 pairs of pants today. Like I know, and that's weird because generally I don't wear any, but I wore 2 pairs of pants today because it was so cold.
That's like +3. So it's like 0, 1. I don't know.
Yeah,
I might have my math wrong. my rule is, so I take the dog out, and we have a little dog, and my rule is she doesn't have to wear a sweater if I can do it in 1 pair of pants. But if I have to double layer, then I figure she probably needs some extra protection from the elements.
Yeah,
and from coyotes who are starving. Just throwing that out there because it's cold. Oh, and the most important thing is my little dog killed a mouse yesterday. So now she thinks she's
Mavis
like some sort of
killed a mouse.
She killed a mouse.
I don't picture Mavis as like,
she was
this
like, what are you eating
dog
over there? What are you eating over there? She's like, argh. And so now she thinks she's a killer.
So she didn't leave it as dedication at your front.
Yeah.
At your bed or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a roommate.
This is my offering.
Yeah. I had a roommate in college, and he had 2 cats and a dog. And I come in one day, there's a half a squirrel laying on my pillow. Like, I'm going to hope one of the animals did this. I really am.
We always have when we have new people come over. Maddie is our dog is super like just new people touch me, pet me, and I always tell people that's my guard dog, but she's not a very good guard dog.
More of an alert puppy.
Yeah. What about you, Michael? What have you been up to this week?
Well, all right, this week. So lately I've been doing a lot of business. So I've been off work for just a little bit. Took the week off for the most part, but doing a lot of business side of stuff. Not as much writing as I would like to get. Working with some folks out of Germany. So I'm doing a lot of translations for the stuff I've got in the U.S. already in English.
Oh, cool.
And so I just literally an hour ago signed contract for some audio voice talent. So I don't know if you guys have heard of that guy named George Clooney. Well, it's not George Clooney that I signed the talent with, but
I just like him.
But evidently the whenever George Clooney does something in Germany, so George Clooney's voice, he'll be doing one of the audiobooks.
The German George Clooney.
Exactly, the German.
Nice. That's even better than the American.
Yeah, it's probably better than the real thing. So, doing business side arrangement, which I wish I could like farm off, but seems to be since I'm a one man shop, it's
right.
It's me, and getting that stuff done. Doing a lot of what the indie folks do, which is yell at the Amazon folks why certain things aren't the way they're supposed to be. Trying to get something up on pre-order, and trying to get some writing done at the same time. So,
I think the only business thing I've done in the last week is reach out to Gina Carano and see if she'll narrate one of my book series, but she didn't respond.
Yeah. All I know is I sent sent my thoughts on her page, and I got like 1,500 responses, and I just like, okay, that's the last time I'm doing that. I'm not.
And you're like, well, I'll just happy face everyone and move on.
I don't even look at politics online. I don't do it anymore on Facebook. It was just sucking up too much of my life. I said, fuck it. I'm done with it.
Oh, no.
I'm much happier now.
No. To me, I've learned over the years, is that, I don't know how some people like just, go in full on and engage. And I've learned the more and more followers and the more people that get involved, I'm like right only. Yeah. It's like, I can't look at it anymore because it's just too much.
It's just kind of a downward spiral.
Literally 0 people are interested in having their opinion changed. And so you're just really talking to yourself. So just save yourself the pain and anguish. Don't even do it. That's my advice to everyone in regards to politics, social media, if you're around.
No, me as this Jewish guy who writes, stuff, I can't tell you how many times I've been called a Nazi and everything else. So, people aren't logical out there. So, it is what it is.
100%. Let's see. What have I been up to this week? I have started I've turned over a new leaf.
Bought a new hat, apparently.
No, this is an old hat, but I just decided I found it today, and I was like, I'm going to wear it.
It's very nice.
I have been getting back into the swing of things and getting word counts. If you're on the Keystroke Rimo, you can see that I've actually been putting in word counts on our sheet. I'm only 10,000 words behind Scott this month, which for me, that's an accomplishment. Either that or Scott's just screwing off this month.
It's going to be a fight. Fight you off. Pass me.
I bought a calendar, like a regular calendar, and I've been having some not issues, but kind of like motivational. Like I've got so much to do, and I don't know where to start, and then I just don't. It's like when you tell kids to clean up their messy room, and they just look at it, they're like, "Whoa, I don't want to." So I sat down yesterday and took the whole week and wrote down what I wanted to do on those days. And looking at it on the calendar, I'm like, it's really not that bad. I can work on that. And that's worked out a lot with my my new journaling, my writing journaling. I came up with some really good plot improvements for my Gods of War military fantasy project. I spent probably a whole day and a half coming up with lore, but then once I figured out the lore, it really helped me work through the plot of that book, and I'm almost done with it. The outline, rather. And one of the things that I found last week was I was having trouble getting started on writing, and so I just took my voice recorder and walked around the basement for a while and transcribed about 700 words. And as that started, my mind started going with the words, and was able to transcribe it, and then just hopped right into.
That's the reason I started
writing.
dictating in the first place, was just as a mental exercise. It wasn't to create massive productivity. It was to try something fresh.
Yeah.
So what's your word count average for you guys?
Usually, well, now I'm aiming for between 2 and 3. When I first, in 2019, when I first went full time. Okay, first of all, I just got to say as a side note, it's been 2 years since I
know,
full-time, and that's so insane weird to me. When I first went full time, I was between 4 and 5, and then life happened, and now I'm down around 2 or 3. But I usually try to get 2 or 3 in a day, and usually it's not too hard.
My spreadsheet says my average is 2,500 words a day right now, but that's averaging high productivity words with low productivity editing and revision days, where I get, I try to get 3,000 a day, but sometimes you get significantly less than that if you're mostly editing. But I always have to have new words, or I get depressed. So I can't have a 0 word day. It makes me unlivable to be around. You don't want to be around me if I haven't got any words.
And that's a 7 days a week thing, right?
7 days a week, 365 days a year. I mean, if I haven't, if I missed a day, it's because someone in my family had to go to the hospital for surgery, or I went to work and there was a double homicide and I had to work 18 hours of overtime, and there was just literally no time left in the day by the time I got home. Yeah. That's it.
Oh, there was a day a couple months ago you got 7 words or something just to put words.
I got 7 words, but I was doing edits. So the nexus of hell for me is when I get edits, I get 3 books with deadlines, edits back at the same time. And so I was doing multiple addressing edits from editors, 3 different manuscripts at a time, and then trying to do a little bit of my own stuff. But after I did all my edits, I managed to get 7 words, and so I put it on the spreadsheet, because that's important, not to have a 0.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? What do you try to get a day?
So I try to do about 2K a day, and that's almost always I'm always, the first thing I do in the day is edit, whatever I'd put together from yesterday. So usually, the first draft of stuff is garbage, and and then, but it looks good at the time, and next day I edit that stuff and make it look less horrible. Yep. And then get 2,000 new words down, and save that for the second round editing the next day. So about 2,000. Then again, I've got a job one too. So I think Scott, you do as well. So yeah,
it can be it's a distraction.
Yeah.
People got to understand where my priorities are. Damn it.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if I'd rather have your guys' position or not, because you guys have stuff you got to do. I just chase toddlers around all day. And,
You got a job one as well. So,
yeah. I'm not sure which one's more enjoyable.
Yeah. We've talked about that actually being in it, having some kind of pressure does actually increase productivity.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, you got to be pushed up against the wall sometimes to really get shit done, and that can come from chasing toddlers, or from trying not to freeze your tiny bits off while you're out.
I told Jamie said, if it's this cold tomorrow, I'm calling in sick. And I said, man, I'm really going to have to rethink my commute to work. I might have to put slippers on or something. He was not happy about that at all.
I had to wear sweatpants today.
I know. I'm getting kind of toasty right now.
Yeah, but for us, where do your deadlines come from? I know for me, they're mostly I can only blame myself, because I'll usually arrange something with the editor, and he'll go, okay, well, I'll slot you in for some date. And I'm like, oh, crap, now I got to go deliver something to him by that date. It's like, okay, there's my deadline. Yeah.
So. My deadlines are interesting because most of them are self-imposed. Podium's been really easy working with it because they're actually like 2 books ahead on this particular series. And so like the original one was like in November, and I said, it's going to be a little later. But so this is the third time I've said I need another month. And so I'm like, I'm not doing it again. So they would give me another one on this project because it's not high priority for them. I don't think it's a moderate seller. But then like every now and then I put something on pre-order. So that I'd try to do that. I don't do that anymore unless I absolutely need it to set up ads, and I
don't do it ever.
Yeah, if I'm done with the book, I will do it, or if I'm done with at least the solid second draft. But then my main reason I get stressed out when I call them deadlines is because I've learned last year that not releasing frequently enough hurts my income, and so I start feeling, oh shit, I haven't released any solo work for several months. I got to get something out, and it becomes kind of a nebulous cloud over your head deadline. It's not like somebody's yelling at me to get it done. Like you need to earn some money, Moon, or else you're going to be doing this job for a million years.
No, I think that's key because because I actually am feeling that because in the last 6 months or so, I haven't really put out anything new in English, and I've been so focused on, cracking whip on translators and all this other stuff in different languages that I haven't been putting out new stuff. And even though I've got it kind of backlogging up, so I'm going to have a bunch of stuff coming out soon. But I see the numbers. I sell way more right now in Germany than I do in the rest of the world, which is bizarre to me. But it's all fresh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about Germany. I'm very interested in that market. But you're right. The thing is with those income, it's a delayed effect.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get, I'm feeling pretty good. And then 6 months later, you're like, how come I'm not making any money? It's, because I took my foot off the gas for 3 months back a year ago.
Oh, no. You got to keep the pipeline full. Otherwise, they forget about you.
They do quickly.
Yeah.
I keep getting those K-lytic ads pushed towards me. And the most recent one said there was something like 3,500 books a day published. So you're definitely fighting for visibility. There's plenty of other books out there to read. Most of those are dead books that get no marketing, but
no, right. I mean, the best advertising you can ever do. I mean, we all probably do some level of advertising of one kind or another, but the best advertising we can do is just put something new out. So
100%. I want to say hi to Silent Wolf. He's in the chat today. He says nothing like lifting weights and listening to KSM in the morning. I don't know that you could do any better than that.
Paradise right there.
Welcome to everybody else that's in the chat. If I miss you, I apologize, but thanks for coming in. There's a lot of activity in the live chat today, so welcome. So you've written a number of books, Michael, in different genres. I think one of your first books was Primordial Threat, and then went through the Inside Man and Perimeter, and even looks epic fantasy or YA fantasy, and now you've got a new kind of spy thriller coming out soon. So I'm curious with the going through. We had Rep Bruno on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked to him about doing multiple genres, and it's kind of a different take on the indie market. By doing multiple genres and then multiple series at the same time. I think a lot of the indie movement is doing long-running series in specific genres. So what kind of sets you apart from that, or why did you decide to take a different approach?
Well, all right. So when I came across indie by accident more than anything else, because Primordial Threat was the first book, and so my background, I'm a research scientist, so my background is definitely in the sciences, the whole stuffy professor type of thing. But I long ago, I have a little bit of background in intelligence work, and so to me, I always gravitated towards action adventure thriller, but and I was always a fan of epic fantasy, but I wasn't about to go write about space aliens, nor was I going to write about laser beams. I'm the stuffy, crazy professor type. So I couldn't see myself speaking about those in any serious way. But I eventually changed my mind. But I started with Primordial Threat actually as a trad pub thing. And yeah, I won't get political, but let's just say that I ran into a situation where one of the big five publishers wanted me to change the actual the race of one of the main characters, and literally no one wants to hear about this, but I say it in the back of my book, how the book came to being made. And it was a situation where one of the main characters is this, so I'm this Jewish, white guy scientist, and I had a black scientist in the book who was the hero, and I didn't think anything of it, but evidently, the Tread Pub folks didn't. They followed some own voices thing, which was, I guess, I'd never heard of it before, but had been geared towards people staying in their lane, which was like bizarre to me. I was like, are you kidding me? So I'm so I've got this character, and you say I can't write that character, even though this has nothing to do with.
It kind of contradicts what they normally say, which is we want diversity in writing and all this stuff. And then when you do it, they're like, no, that's not what we meant. Yeah, not from you. Right.
So I basically said, no, I'm not. They're like, I'll bring this to the review board, but there's no way they're gonna take it unless make a couple changes. And I was like, my first thought was, if I do this, where does it stop? And and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's like, well, we're not going to be able to probably work together. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And 6 weeks later, I published it, and soon enough later, it was on the USA Today bestsellers list. So, and that started my indie thing. And and that one's more a hard sci-fi type of thing. And and that sort of branched into doing some techno thriller type stuff with like Perimeter and Inside Man and stuff like that. And it kind of blends a couple of things that I've some experience with, though I've never been in the mafia or anything like that. But it's stuff that I at least know or can write with some it sounds authoritative,
right?
And most of my books have some science in it, so that's kind of a common thread across everything. And then I just broke down one day and said, you know what, I've got like a whole bunch of books that are sitting on the virtual shelf that I've never published, which I had done as like literally bedtime stories for the kids. I did. I made up an entire epic fantasy. It turned out to be a 4-book series, but about them and a family going, having an adventure of sorts. And I kept on losing track of where I was going, and so I started writing stuff down, and that really started my whole crypto author career, I suppose. And it certainly wasn't the first stuff I published, but it was actually the first stuff I wrote. So
you mentioned the USA Today bestseller list when you talked about Primordial Threat.
Right.
And as an indie, that's sometimes that's right.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is super hard to get on those lists as an indie because you don't have the backing of the big five.
Right.
So did you do anything specific to get on that list? Was it kind of just an organic thing?
It's a little of both. I mean, so if I didn't push it or have a coordinated effort in how I went about it, it wouldn't have happened, I don't think. I mean, you either have like a truly organic type of 50 Shades kind of scenario where it goes gangbusters lunatic crazy,
right? Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh yeah, exactly. And no one can ever count on that kind of stuff. I wish we could, but you can't. No.
Wait a minute. You're selling me that a Twilight fan fiction erotica book, you can't plan on that going crazy?
Shocking, I know. It sucks, but and everybody who starts off with this author thing have these delusions of grandeur that'll happen to them.
They'll see my brilliance, and then it'll all shine through.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for me, it was one of those things where when I did this, when I said, you know what, the hell with this TreadPub thing, that it was such a pain to even get those things, and I've got lots of contacts. I know lots of people in TreadPub, and it's just it's an unpleasant business, really. And that's a whole other show. But it was a coordinated effort. When I published that, my goal was, you know what, I'm a failure if in my mind, for me, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this the way I do it, which is balls to the wall. Let's see what I can do with this. Let's see how far I can go. So I did what no indies do. I was distributing wide, which basically means I was more than just Amazon, because I do think, even though I know for a fact that it's not required, it's very near impossible to get on any list unless you're a wide distribution author.
And you did wide for until recently. Until recently, yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, wide meaning my books were available Barnes and Noble, iTunes, Kobo, basically most of the retailers, and sold through all of them, and there are things, and usually it's coordinated effort with marketing, and there's something called BookBub, which is hard to get. So BookBub is a marketing tool. Folks could look that up, but I've always had, I've had a lot of luck with being able to get on
BookBub. For the people who aren't writers in the group, which that's most of us, but for somebody listening, is a curated email lists that you sign up for BookBub, and then you pick, these are the types of genres I like, and then they send you book recommendations every week or month. And for the uninitiated, they're actually really good at it. And so if you can get, and they're very selective. They don't just take anybody. You can't just pay to be on there. They got to think that your stuff is good.
Right. And again, with me, it was all a kind of a confluence of a lot of work, because most of the stuff on the bestseller list, and most of the stuff off but is still good. There's really very little difference between them. And I will say that the bestseller lists are kind of a farce, because most bestseller lists, if you ever watch them, people show up for like a millisecond, literally that week, and they don't. And that book is gone.
Right.
It shows up, and the way that kind of stuff works is it's never about how much your total sales are. Like I could sell 1 million books and never hit a bestseller list. But it's all about velocity of sales in a very small period of time, and that includes pre-orders and stuff like that. So when you see people blip on and off of like New York Times and all that, it's because they had this long pre-order run, and they had a good following, and a lot of people bought, drips and drabs. And then basically on the release date, let's say you had a 6-month pre-order run, all of those books that were bought in the 6 months, they count for that 1 week. So that's where you'll see people land.
And the New York Times list is different than USA Today and Brothers. And they don't count the same books. And I believe, if I'm correct, I might be a little bit off, is they count books that are shipped to bookstores mostly, but a lot of those books are returned if they don't sell in the bookstore. So you see a best-selling book, New York Times Today best-selling book, that doesn't mean that it's the most popular book. That means that's the one they thought was going to be the best-selling book, and so they shipped the most copies.
Right.
And then you can then all of their hardbacks are $6 at the front of Barnes and Noble because nobody bought them.
Right.
But they're still a bestseller.
Right, and this is a question I get a lot. So like, well, how many books do you have to actually sell to get on the top seller? I mean, the reality, it always varies. But for me, to hit, and I think I've hit, I've hit the USA Today. USA Today is different because all of the lists are curated, meaning they play games. You may sell 10 times more than everybody else, the next guy on, or the top guy on the list, but don't show up on the list because he didn't sell in the right places, like Scott said. But USA Today is a bit unusual that the formula is pretty reliable. You can tell, if you sold a lot of books through major channels, you'll show up there. So like for me, I mean, I've shown up 3 times on the USA Today for 3 different books, and I would say that on average, I sold at least like 6,000 books that week.
Nice. That's a lot of books.
So no, yeah, and that doesn't just happen typically organically. That's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to every one of my friends, harass the hell out of them, and and do all sorts of other tricks, and and get on every marketing tool I possibly can, and all for that 1 week, and
There's a question in the chat that I believe is for you, Michael. It says, "Did you do that wide by hand, or did you use drafted digital?" Some people go directly. Some people use DTD.
I do it by hand. So and essentially the difference. I mean, drafted digital is a service that I think is really convenient for folks who don't want to necessarily do like for me, if I'm going to go put out a new book and I'm going to do it wide distribution, that means I need to go upload every single book to Apple, to Barnes and Noble, to Kobo, to Amazon, etc. I have to do it all, and they don't charge you for that. You get whatever the normal percentage is. Draft to digital will help you out, and you do it just to them, and they'll handle all the rest. And that's nice. That's convenient. But to me, I never did that because I wanted more of the money. They take a cut,
right?
And I'm like, you know what? It might be a pain, but you know what? If I'm going to sell a good amount of books, it's not that much of a pain. It's like
right. Well, and then once you get the process down, it's
right.
Yeah, that's my question. How difficult is it to learn those individual? I know Apple in particular has been historically difficult to upload to, but I don't know if that's changed because I've just been using drafted digital.
Yeah, so for me, it really comes down to, I mean, once you actually, I think it was very easy to get on Kobo, very easy on Barnes and Noble, Google. I think, I mean, sometimes you have to wait, and they're like, well, we're closed for new accounts, and then suddenly you appear and you have a new account. So,
right.
So once you actually have accounts, on iTunes, so you can actually be a content producer and stuff like that. Once you have those, I mean, to me, literally, maybe it takes a couple hours to get it all squirreled together. I mean, and there's some software products that make it really, really easy. So on Mac, they have something called Vellum, which is really a formatting software.
Yep.
But when you hit generate the book, it takes that same starting material that you used and produces 5 different versions, all formatted in proper EPUB form for each of the different places. Makes it really nice.
It's a very good program.
Yeah, and so for me, it's a couple hours of overhead. But let's say that they're skimming. If Draft to Digital would be skimming 10%. Now, if I'm planning on making, I'm just going to say round numbers. Let's say $10,000. Is it worth $1,000 to me? You might debate that one way or the other.
Right.
But if that book does really well, and you make $50,000, suddenly is it worth $5,000 for you to go figure it out how to do it yourself?
Right.
The numbers start to make a lot more sense to, like, what, let me just get my lazy ass off, and just do this. And
that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought of it quite like that.
Yeah, because it really scales. I mean, and admittedly, most authors don't make a lot of money doing this. I mean, right. They just don't, and it's just a convenience. And none of us have the time to do any of this stuff. We have barely enough time to write. So adding a couple, adding a couple hours to the whole process just seems like, oh God, no. You know what? Just handle it. But once you hit a certain set of numbers, yes, it's a pain. But once it's uploaded, you really don't have to do anything with it. It's pretty automated at that point. Really very little that you have to do. But it's for me I planned for success from the beginning, and luckily I've had some modicum of it, and so for me it was never a question. I didn't do it.
I want to. There's a couple other questions in the chat I want to get to, but I want to do the show sponsor before we do that. Today's show sponsor is Invasive Species by Ben Stevens. He was just on Coffee and Concepts this morning. So if you missed that show, when you're done with live, go check out our other show with Walt Robillard. He did a fantastic interview with Ben this morning. Invasive Species, an epic military sci-fi series. He was born and bred to fight for the purity of the planet. Upon graduation, super soldier John 310-257 is ready to fight for his home. The city-state fortress is a shining beacon of hope for all the survivors of the human race, keeping them safe from the swirling forces of chaos outside its walls. And John is ready to defend his home at all costs. But a shadow creeps nearer, obscuring a dark secret, a secret that John never expected. And when a sworn enemy makes contact, everything he knew is turned upside down. Now it's up to John to discover what it truly means to be a hero. Does he have the strength and courage to become what he has been destined to be? To become humanity's last hope of doom. Don't miss this explosive military sci-fi epic that does a dark fantasy, that does with a dose of dark fantasy. I had that whole read perfect until the last bit.
Perfect in rehearsal every time.
Every time. Don't miss this explosive military sci-fi epic with a dose of dark fantasy, perfect for fans of Jonathan Yanez, Chris Fox, and J.N. Chaney. Grab your copy today. I already put it in the live chat. It'll be in the show notes, thanks to the one and only Ken Britz. And there's the link again. If that sounds interesting to you, go and check it out. It's free if you have Kindle Unlimited, but it's also only 99 cents right now. So don't miss the sale. And Corey Gillum, you're absolutely right, was expecting a Scope of Valor, and I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that, Corey. I'll do better next time. Leo Vaccaro's back. Welcome. And Charles Akeke is in the chat. Welcome. Everybody that's joining us late, welcome to the show. We're talking to M.A. Rothman. We've been talking a little bit about his process. So there's a couple questions I want to really quick get to, and then we'll talk about his upcoming series and then some of his older ones too. So Silent Wolf asks, and you may have already touched this a little bit, what made you decide to go full-time, to go wide from the start instead of going with Amazon? And was it your goal to hit USA Today?
So let me answer the second part first. Yes. To me, my goal is like, okay, because I kind of, I'm still at the stage. All right, hit USA Today 3 times. I've written a ton of books at this stage and in multiple languages, and I'm only now getting to the point where I don't wince when I call myself an author. Because I think I'm still faking it at this point. But
right.
I'm starting to get over that. I know that's my problem. But to me, I had in my mind, okay, maybe I'll be a real author when and I hit this art. I set myself an artificial goal. I'm going to hit USA Today. Then at that point in time, I'll call myself a real author. Or that was just a weird me thing.
Right.
But with that in mind, I was like, I knew a lot of the indies were just doing the Amazon thing, and I was like, I hate the whole. Put all of the eggs in one basket. But it's ironic because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. But when I started, I did go wide, and because I knew that I'd done all the research, I knew what it took, give or take, numbers wise and process wise, to hit any of the bestsellers. So if that was my goal, I knew I was going to need to go wide. So it was really just about some artificial goal. It's to me, I always need a deadline. I always need a goal. Otherwise, I'm just not going to do anything. So what do I need to do? And for me, it was like, okay, I start off wide. I need to start off with a really kick-ass book that I have a lot of confidence in, and then do all the right things. Pull every string I had in. Now, admittedly, on that first book, I pestered everyone to read that book.
I was gonna say it's got a lot of critical tags on it, if you want to say that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got Larry Niven who blurbed it. Larry Correa. Kevin Anderson. You name it. Yeah, I probably have like 15 or more. New York Times or luminaries in the field. So I had all that artificial fluff already set up.
It seemed like your approach to launching your products seems almost like a research scientist and very methodical. Put it together.
No. To me, I'm really type A. So for me, I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna succeed. Because admittedly, my job one, I do very well. So I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna call this my job two, or my retirement job, when I switch, it's like, I don't want to be mediocre. I want to kick ass,
Right.
So what do I have to do? And so that was part of my world domination plan is all right, let me hit USA Today. Now hint USA Today, hitting the USA Today doesn't mean dog crap. It's resume fodder. It's cool. It's awesome.
It looks cool on your little author.
Yeah,
you can put it on your cover. Yeah.
Put it this way. I don't care what anyone says. Because I'll poo-poo it now. But you know what? If you put it on the cover, you're proud of that. One way or the other. You may. I may say, it's not that big of a deal. It's on my front cover. Damn well I'm proud of it. One way or the other.
Do you think it affects sales and other types of?
I think it does for some people. If nothing else. Now, admittedly, I still have delusions of grandeur, and still want, if I find myself in a situation that I could do it, I still want to hit New York Times, bestsellers list at some point. Right. Now, I think it's unrealistic. I mean, I made, before I switched over to just Amazon, I made my one last hurrah, and I figured, my fail mode would be I'd hit USA Today, which I did. I hit like number 80 or something on USA Today, but it was like, okay, I'm gonna try one last time, and I think I sold like 13,000 books or something like that, in a week, and didn't hit it, So like, okay, whatever, I'm done, yeah.
Especially like that's not a small accomplishment selling that amount of books in a week at all.
Yeah.
And for any indie author, that would be like the pinnacle of their career.
No, right. And going back to answer your question, Scott, I don't think overall it sells more books, in the grand scheme of things, because like I know, I won't use his name, but I know a guy who, I'm friends with. So he's an indie author, sells just through Amazon, and most of us would be envious to make what he makes in a month for a year. So nice. He's 6-figure a month, income. So and he's never hit USA Today.
Right.
He's never hit New York Times. And it's he never will. Never will.
How many sleepers there are out there that you never hear of ever, that you never know their names, and if somebody mentions your name, I don't know who that is, but they make so much money. And there's tons of them. There's literally hundreds of authors out there.
It's like
doing that kind of
it's business. Like millionaires. You meet a millionaire and how'd you make your millions? It's like I make coat hangers.
Yeah.
He doesn't really,
Or the My Pillow guy. Like, who would have thought, right? like, okay, you made a pillow, and everybody's making fun of his commercial, but holy crap!
Yeah. The guy makes $100 million a year. Okay. Oh yeah. Yay pillows. Yeah. It's like,
right. Oh, I want to make a pillow.
So I think it makes a difference for some people. And I think our biggest challenge as indie authors is getting people to even look at any of our stuff, because they don't know who you are. You're not a big name. You're not Stephen King. They don't recognize your name. So, what gives them benefit of the doubt? I mean, obviously, like everyone always hears, you need to have a nice cover. So if you've got a crappy cover, relatively speaking, people are going to ignore you anyway. So I think that one actually does make a huge difference. Probably the biggest thing you can do is have actually a decent cover. Now, obviously, you need to have something to back it up. The stuff inside the covers need to be good, but that doesn't make the sale typically. But Cover is good. USA Today, admittedly, for some people, may be the okay. Well, you know what? If the guy seems to be a legit somebody or other, but admittedly, some USA So I'm I would wager if you look at most of the indies today that are USA Today bestsellers, I evidently did it the hard way. I didn't realize I was doing it the hard way, but most USA Today bestseller authors don't do it on single novels. So I hit the list 3 times on 3 different novels. And most of them, if you look at them, because for me, it's always a curiosity. Like, oh, yeah, here's another USA Today bestselling author. And you can actually go look on like USA Today to figure out, okay, well, if they're a USA Today bestselling author, let me go look them up. What was the book that made that hit? Because for me, it's always research. I'm like, okay, cool. That means whatever they did sold really well. And I looked, and I did that over and over again, and I realized there's a trend. Most of the people that hit the USA Today, certainly in the indie realm, don't do it on single books. They and 20 of their closest friends bundle something together. Yeah. And so it's a here's 20 books for 99 cents. I'm selling it, and everybody and their cousin hears about it for that 1 week, and that that collection of books hits this list. So they're all bestsellers.
I'm all about a deal and stuff, but at that point, when you have 20 books for 99 cents in one giant omnibus, which you can only do digitally, I think that's gone too far. I don't think and am I going to buy that and read all of those 20 books?
Right.
Probably not. I'll probably buy it and stick it in my library and never touch it again, because in case.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's don't hate the player, hate the game. To me, that's not something I would do personally. Yeah, and I think more power to them, because I think that's awesome that they get the moniker, but it's to me, it's not the same.
I don't think it's awesome at all. I think it's terrible.
Yeah. I'm trying to be nice.
I know.
One of the questions in the live chat from CCKK is, what other marketing or advertising strategies do you use besides BookBub?
So I think more so than ever before is maintain a mailing list, and probably the biggest strategy I would say, and this is I've only started doing this very recently, and I've seen a huge difference is start creating a mailing list, and and the next natural question is, well, how do you get people on the mailing list? Well, obviously, if you don't have a website and some kind of web presence, you're making a mistake. You need to have something. But more to the point, I started getting a lot of ads to my mailing list by putting a call to action at the end of my books, all of them. I went back to all the other ones that I've ever published, added a call to action, which basically said, hey, if you want to hear about new things that I'm doing, or I won't spam you. I'm a bad author, and I only send stuff out maybe twice a year, but you'll hear from me.
I've got that beat.
Yeah. but I basically say, hey, just join up my mailing list. I'm not going to send you a lot of stuff, but if I think there's something that you might be interested in, I will send something to the mailing list. And I get a lot of people. I get a dribble a day of people adding to the mailing list. So, and I've got like over 10,000 people now at this point on my mailing list, and I didn't do anything for it other than just put a call to action.
It's really interesting, because a lot of the email gurus say you need to develop this personal persona and not sell your books and stuff. But I've noticed in the emails that I sign up with, the ones that are the most successful, they have almost none of that personal stuff. It's just like, hey, here's my new book. But and I don't really know which way is right, but it's just, there's some very conflicting advice on how to handle newsletters. We could probably do a whole show on that. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm by far not what I would call an expert on that kind of stuff, because I think there are two schools of thought that are completely opposite of each other. I mean, like I follow because I'm lazy. I'll reach out to you, not to sell a book necessarily, though it'll probably be coincident with, hey, I got something new to shill at, but it's going to be, here's a status. I haven't talked to you guys in 6 months. Here's what's cooking. And, German deals or this, that, or, whatever. And oh, by the way, I do have something on pre-order, and or if I happen to have a friend and it coincides with when I'm sending something out who happens to have a deal, and I think it's worth their, my mailing list time, maybe, and I know some guy who's got a free book or something like that you might be interested in, so I'll do that. And then there's other people who try to develop a rapport with everybody, though I don't know how that exactly works, and do like weekly newsletters and stuff like that. It's just not my style. I mean, I do have social media presence, but that's harder and harder. I mean,
Yeah.
Do you use any other like paid for advertising, like what is it, book? Book Funnel is one, but I'm thinking of like Fuzzy Librarian or Book Barbarian or any of those.
So I think those are actually all useful, and honestly, those things are ingredients to the whole. If you're gonna shoot for like a bestseller list, I pulled all those stops out. And there are some URLs that tell you that give you hints as to some paid places where it can go out to other people's mailing lists,
Right.
above and beyond your friends' mailing lists and whatever, and BookBub, of course. But I generally don't. I use them when it was coincident with a what do you call it, a push for a bestseller list. But because I've found, other than BookBub is the only one that is, and just for the audience to give an idea, so some of these places, a lot of these places aren't expensive. Maybe you pay them $25 and they'll send it to their 50,000 readers or whatever, which is actually really nice. And you might get a blip, and and you might get, to be honest, maybe 35 more sales or 80 sales, which is great for most people, on any given day. But when you start counting up, especially if you had your book on sale and at the time, and it was 99 cents or something, so you're only making like 30 cents a pop. Right. So so even if you sold 80, okay, well, I just made $24. I just paid $25. It's kind of a wash at best, is usually what happens with most of these things. BookBub is a very different story, because instead of that 50,000 mailing list, especially if you get a global BookBub, which is a separate issue, but it could go out to millions of people, and I've never sold less than a couple thousand books that way. And now it's expensive, and people are like, I mean, they're asking $700. Yeah, pay it. Because you will make.
You're going to make that back.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's almost always I don't know anybody who hasn't had a positive ROI, right, even if it's not a ton of, but it's always going to be at least pay for itself.
Yeah, and that's the thing that most people are, especially in the indie crowd. We tend to be kind of frugal, and we part with our farthings very reluctantly. So,
and one thing it's really important, I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a BookBub feature and the BookBub ads are two different things. It's important for people to know if they're new to this, because those are not the same thing.
Yes, When I'm referring to BookBub has two modes. You can do an ad, or a featured ad. An ad is where you're just paying for clicks for people to get exposed to it. That's not what I'm talking about. This is a featured ad, which is the curated list. They have to approve you, et cetera, which is a whole different ballgame. And that's where you're paying a fixed fee. It goes out to some mega list. Depending on your genre, it could be as little as a few 100,000 people, as little as to upwards of like 3 million people. And like I said, I've always made money on it, and immediate money. And if you're an indie person and you have more than one book, think of it this way. It goes out to 3 million people, and let's say you make your money back just barely on immediately on the sales of that when the BookBub ad runs, but those people who just bought your book, even if it was 99 cents, they're going to be motivated. They spent something, so they're gonna read it eventually, and if they liked it, they're probably going to go look for more of your stuff. So it's so you'll make an ROI.
A long tail that you won't really see. I mean, it'll be there, but you can't tie that back to
exactly. But it will affect your sales. And it actually is more effect. Ideally, if you can get a BookBub, and you have a series out and you get it on a book one of your series, you'll notice it if you pay attention month to month. You'll see a huge difference. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times your investment easily, and maybe much more than that.
Rick Partlow in the chat, we were talking about newsletter lists earlier. He was interested in how big your list was.
Mine's about 10,000 people. Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't depend on that as much as I mean, especially on Amazon. And this is one thing that's frustrating about Amazon. People can follow you as an author on Amazon, and they do. And they will get alerts when you release a new book. If they're a follower of your author page, they will be alerted. But you have no idea how many people are on there. So my list, my personal mailing list, is 10,000 people, and it's hard for me to tell exactly how many of those guys actually buy versus not. So if nothing else, it can't hurt. But like I said earlier, I think some of the best advertising we do is when we publish a new book, because that'll stir a memory somewhere, and because they'll a lot of people will probably get an email from Amazon saying, hey, that Hayes guy just published a new book. You might want to look at it or whatever, and they may click, and they probably will, and. To me, it's all kind of about word of mouth, and those guys who clicked on that book may not be interested in that book, but they might be, they'll see the also boughts. It's like, hey, people who bought this book also bought these other books, and and that's how a lot of books get sold. Is relationship to other books.
And people like new stuff. I mean, even outside of books, and even we always talk about the Amazon algorithm all the time. But you think about just on a basic human instinct is, when's the last time you didn't see something new and go, ooh, a shiny new thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's have it.
Yeah. And I mean, especially if the person bothered to follow you as an author, that means they probably liked whatever they read. So they're like, all right, well, let me keep in touch and hear what he's, if he or she puts out something new. So I mean, to me, I think that's some of the best advertisement you can get is some of that stuff, and just putting something new out. It's
and the algorithms do like it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of following authors, I'm going to put your Amazon author page in the live chat, and it costs nothing to go and follow.
That's right.
Go and click that link and follow M.A. Rothman. So you say your newest book that's coming out is going to be on pre-order soon?
Yes. I was having a heated discussion with Amazon this morning. So it should come out. The Patriot will be coming out on pre-order any moment now. It was supposed to be out this morning, but evidently the gods have frowned on that. So it'll be later today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
And what's that book about? You want to get a little blurb for it?
Yeah, and actually, let me cheat. I'll actually read what Hey, I'd be able to point you guys to the page, but since
I would have read
it,
but there was no blurb.
So I'll read the blurb. So Conner Sloane, a CIA operations officer, uncovers a plot against the homeland that dwarfs anything that occurred on 9/11. After confirming that the terrorists have finally gotten their hands on a nuclear weapon, all of his attempts at getting someone to do something are actively thwarted. Realizing that politics are at play even at the highest levels of the intelligence community, Conner faces two choices: move on or go to the press with everything he knows. Patriot is about a man who has committed his life to his country and to those who serve it, even at the possible sacrifice of his own freedom.
Nice. And as Keystroke tradition here, we have to add "of doom" to the last of your blurb there.
The blurb of valor.
It's the blurb of valor. It should be up for pre-order soon, but go and click on that link that I just put in the chat. Follow Rothman on Amazon, and you should get that notification when it goes live. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Sure.
It's been a great conversation.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Silent Wolf in the chat is asking about the production level. We talked about that a little earlier in the show. You might not have been here yet, but we did talk about that at the beginning. So I might rewind on the replay and listen to that. Everybody else that was in the live chat, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Look at Scott McGlasson wanted to come in right at the end and say hi. Hello, Scott. And Leo Vaqueros on Facebook, just holding it down. I think he's the only one watching on Facebook today. Everybody else is on YouTube. He's a lonely guy. Say hi to Leo. Everybody that's in the live chat, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us this Monday. Don't forget, keystroke.com/coffee. If you need that writer's block cured, you can buy your own writer's block blend of Keystroke Coffee on our website. There's also
and you should. It's
honestly, you should. Actually, I'm almost out of Alaskan King. I need to reorder. I'll probably do that as soon as I get off the show. It
increases your word count by 10%.
It really does. It's actually been scientifically proven to up your word count. Keystroke Coffee. Let's see. Who do we have next week? I forgot. Let's see. Where's the calendar at? So organized.
That's the guy who just talked for about 20 minutes before the show about his new calendar.
Yeah. Well, so the Keystroke Medium calendar is different than my writing calendar. I have. Let's see. Jamie Davis is coming next week to talk. He's the author of I think it's The Accidental Mage. Is the Accidental something?
I think it sounds right.
I can't remember. He's going to be on, and then Amy Duboff is going to be on March 1st. You guys aren't going to want to miss those.
The Amazing Amy.
And let's see. On the Writer's Journey this week, which is Friday at 2 p.m., the co-author of American Sniper, the Chris Kyle story, will be on the Writer's Journey with Lauren and Kayleen. You don't want to miss that. And then the week after that, why isn't my book selling on the Writer's Journey? And so you guys aren't going to want to miss those at all. Michael, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was great.
Thanks a lot. It was fun.
Good times.
All right, people, we are going to kick off for today. Thank you for spending your Monday morning with us. I hope you have a great writing week. And as always, come back next time. We're going to talk about reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. See ya.